Lily came home just after 11 with Miami still on her skin. I was in the kitchen, finishing a glass of water, when I heard her heels strike the hardwood in that slow, careless rhythm people have when they've had enough to feel untouchable. She stepped through the doorway with her hair loose over one shoulder, lipstick faded at the edges, and the kind of bright, reckless smile that didn't belong to a married woman coming home from a client dinner. She looked expensive, polished, glowing, too glowing. "There you are," she said, dropping her purse on the counter. "You're still up." "I was working," I said. She laughed softly, like that answer amused her. Then she kicked off her shoes and leaned against the island across from me. Her cheeks were flushed. There was champagne in her voice and arrogance in her eyes. I knew that look. It was the look she wore when she thought she had entered a room above everyone else in it. For a few seconds, neither of us said anything. The refrigerator hummed. The dishwasher clicked through its cycle. Outside, rain tapped lightly against the windows. She looked at me the way people look at a stage before the curtain rises, waiting for the performance to begin. Then she said, "You know Ryan Cole?" I did not move. "I know the name." Her smile widened. "Well," she said, drawing the word out, "I spent the night with him." She watched my face carefully after that. Not with guilt, not with fear, with curiosity. She wanted impact. She wanted a crack in the glass. Maybe rage. Maybe pain. Maybe one of those humiliating reactions people beg forgiveness for later. Instead, I set my glass down. Lily straightened a little, almost disappointed by how little I gave her. "It wasn't planned," she said, though the satisfaction in her voice made the lie obvious. "It just happened after dinner. We kept talking, and he asked me up, and honestly—" She let out a breathy laugh. "I've admired him for years. You have no idea what it feels like to be chosen by someone like that. Someone like that." She said it as if she had been promoted. I studied her in silence. The silk dress, the bare shoulder, the faint mark near her collarbone she hadn't bothered to cover. She mistook my calm for weakness. People usually do. "Aren't you going to say anything?" she asked. I looked her directly in the eyes. "Yes," I said. "Take some water before you go to bed. You've been drinking." The smile left her face. Not all at once. Just enough. And that was the moment she finally understood something was wrong. I didn't follow her upstairs. I listened instead. Her footsteps moved down the hallway. Slower now, less confident. A door closed. Water started running. Too loud, like she wanted to drown out the silence she had created. I stood there for a few seconds longer, then turned and walked in the opposite direction. My office door was at the end of the hall. Locked. Always locked. Lily used to joke about it. "Top secret government work?" she'd ask, smiling. I never corrected her. Inside, the air felt different. Colder. Controlled. No personal photos. No distractions. Just clean surfaces, dark screens, and a desk position with exact precision. I closed the door behind me and engaged the secondary lock. Then I sat down. For a moment, I did nothing. Just listened to the faint echo of water pipes through the walls and the soft vibration of my phone on the desk. Then I reached under the right side of the desk and pressed twice. A hidden panel slid open without a sound. Inside was a second workstation. Isolated, encrypted, never connected to anything in the house. No shared networks. No accidental exposure. I powered it on. The screen lit up slowly, asking for credentials that Lily didn't know existed. I entered them without hesitation. Within seconds, the system loaded into a dashboard most people would never understand. Financial models, internal reports, communication logs, audit trails layered over months of quiet observation. At the center of it all was a single project file. Acquisition, Helix Dynamics. Confidential, restricted, ongoing. I opened it. Hundreds of documents populated the screen. Names, numbers, movement patterns, internal approvals, external communications. Everything mapped, cross-referenced, verified. And then I searched one name, Ryan Cole. The system responded instantly. Senior Executive, Strategic Oversight Division, Primary Liaison on the Acquisition. I leaned back slightly, eyes scanning the data as it unfolded. Travel logs appeared first. Miami, multiple entries. private bookings, off-record accommodations, expenses routed through secondary channels that didn't align with declared meetings. Then came communications, encrypted threads, selectively deleted messages, reconstructed fragments pulled from mirrored systems, and then something more interesting, unusual decision approvals, timing inconsistencies, moments where key financial recommendations had shifted, subtly, but enough to influence the trajectory of a deal worth billions. I followed the pattern. Every deviation aligned with his travel. Every trip aligned with her. I didn't react. I zoomed in, cross-referenced timestamps, overlaid personal movement data with corporate decisions. The pattern wasn't random. It was consistent, predictable, and now, because of what she had just told me, fully exposed. Upstairs, the water stopped. I heard her footsteps again, closer this time. I minimized nothing, didn't rush, didn't hide, because the truth was simple. Lily thought she had crossed a line tonight. She had no idea she had just stepped into something much bigger. I didn't close the file when I heard her footsteps pause outside the office door. She didn't knock. Lily never knocked. She stood there for a second too long, like she was deciding whether she still had the right to walk in uninvited. Then she kept moving. The hesitation was small, but it mattered. I waited until her bedroom door closed before I looked back at the screen. Ryan Cole wasn't the problem. He was a symptom. I opened the compliance framework tied to the acquisition. Hundreds of pages. Legal language designed to be ignored. Dense. Technical. Intentionally exhausting. Most executives never read it. They trusted summaries, delegated risk, assumed protection. I didn't. I navigated directly to a section buried deep in the documentation, not highlighted, not referenced in the executive briefings. Clause 14.7, undisclosed personal influence. I read it again slowly, even though I already knew every word. Any undeclared personal relationship that could reasonably influence strategic decision-making must be disclosed immediately. Failure to do so constitutes a material breach and triggers automatic review, suspension, and potential nullification of all related approvals. Cold language. Precise. Dangerous. I scroll further. Addendum reference. Case origin. Internal ethics revision following external advisory scandal. No names listed. Just a date. 8 years ago. I paused. Then I opened another file. Archive cases tied to the clause's creation. It took less than a minute to find it. A consulting firm. Mid-level executive. Undisclosed relationship with a decision-maker. Biased recommendations. Financial exposure. Quiet settlement. And then the name of the company involved. I recognized it immediately. Not because of the case. Because of Lily. Her first major job. The one she used to talk about like it was the foundation of everything she became. I leaned forward slightly, reading deeper. Internal fallout. Policy overhaul. Legal reconstruction. The clause I was looking at now, it existed because of that situation. Because of people who thought personal decisions didn't have professional consequences. I sat back. Lily didn't know. That was the part that almost mattered. She had no idea that the exact type of behavior she was treating like a personal victory had already destroyed careers before, that systems had been built specifically to detect it, to punish it, and now she had placed herself directly inside that system, not by accident, not by manipulation, by choice. Upstairs, I heard her moving again. Closet doors, drawers, the soft rhythm of someone trying to return to normal. I looked at the clause one more time. Then at Ryan's file, then at the overlapping data. There was no uncertainty left, no missing pieces, just timing. I closed my eyes briefly, not out of stress, but to slow everything down, to see the sequence clearly. She thought tonight was the peak. It wasn't. It was a trigger. And the worst part? The clause didn't care about intentions, only outcomes. The next morning, I woke up before her, 6:12 a.m. The house was quiet. Gray light pushed through the blinds in thin lines across the floor. For a few seconds, I lay still, listening to the silence, to my own breathing, to the absence of anything urgent. Then I got up. By 6:30, I was in the kitchen. Coffee, Eggs, toast, everything measured, everything routine. Control always starts with routine. I moved calmly, deliberately. No wasted motion. No noise beyond what was necessary. The pan heated evenly. Butter melted without burning. The smell filled the room just as the coffee finished dripping. Normal. That was the point. At 7:02, Lily walked in. She looked different, still beautiful, still composed. But there was something slightly off in her eyes, like she hadn't slept as deeply as she expected to, like something had followed her into the night. She paused when she saw me cooking. "You're up early," she said. "I had work," I replied. I didn't look at her immediately. I plated the food first, set it down, then poured a second cup of coffee, and placed it across from mine. She sat, slowly, carefully, watching me. This time, she wasn't waiting for a reaction. She was looking for a signal. Any signal. "You didn't say anything last night," she said. I took a sip of coffee. There wasn't anything to say. That answer didn't land the way she expected. It didn't give her conflict. It didn't give her resolution. It gave her nothing. And nothing is harder to read than anger. We ate in silence. Fork against plate. Coffee against ceramic. Small sound that felt louder than they should have. Halfway through, I stood up. "I need to send something before I forget," I said. I walked to the counter, opened my laptop, and began typing. Deliberately, slow enough for her to notice, fast enough to look natural. I didn't hide the screen. Subject line: compliance review, urgent clarification required. I let it sit there for a second longer than necessary. Then I started typing the body. Not everything, just enough. References to internal review, mentions of undisclosed variables, language that meant nothing to her, but felt important. She watched. I could feel it without looking. "You're working on that big project still?" she asked. "Yes." "What kind of review?" I paused mid-sentence, then continued typing. "Standard procedure," I said. She didn't respond, but I heard the shift in her breathing. Subtle, tighter. After a moment, I closed the laptop. Not fully, just enough that the screen went dark, but not enough to look like I was hiding it. "I'll finish it later," I said. Then I picked up my keys. "I'll be out most of the day." "Doing what?" "Errands." That was the first time she frowned, because that word didn't fit me. Not on a weekday, not without detail. "Okay," she said slowly. I walked past her, stopping just long enough to rest my hand briefly on the back of her chair. A familiar gesture, one I hadn't done in weeks. "Don't wait up tonight," I added. Then I left. I didn't go far, just far enough. From the car, I adjusted 3 things: her calendar access, her meeting confirmations, and one small routing detail on her phone synchronization. Nothing obvious, nothing that would trigger suspicion immediately, just enough to create friction, delays, misalignments. By the time she noticed, it wouldn't look like interference. It would look like distance, and distance creates pressure. I started the engine and checked the time. 8:11 a.m. Right about now, she would be reaching for her phone, probably to message him, probably expecting the same confidence she had last night. I sat there for a moment, watching the house. Still, quiet, unaware. Then I shifted into drive, because pressure doesn't work all at once. It works slowly, until the person inside it starts to question everything on their own. Ryan Cole walked into the building at 8:43 a.m., expecting the best day of his career. Glass doors, polished floors, the quiet hum of money moving behind walls most people would never see. He adjusted his cufflinks as he crossed the lobby, phone in hand, already scanning emails. Confident, untouchable, that was the version of himself he believed in. By 8:47, he stepped into the elevator. Alone, mirror on 3 sides. He checked his reflection briefly. Tie straight, posture relaxed, expression controlled. He looked like a man about to win. The doors open on the executive floor. Something felt wrong immediately. No greetings, no casual nods, no assistants approaching with updates. People looked at him, but only for a second, then away. Too quickly. He kept walking. At 8:49, his phone vibrated. Subject, compliance notification. Immediate review initiated. He stopped mid-step, opened it. Read it once. Then again. The language was cold, structured, final. Undisclosed personal relationship identified. Material influence risk detected. All related communications and activity under review. His jaw tightened. He turned and walked faster now, straight to his office. Closed the door harder than necessary. Locked it, then opened his laptop. Tried to access the acquisition files. Access denied. He frowned. Tried again. Restricted. A second notification appeared. System access limited. Pending internal investigation. His breathing changed. Not panic. Not yet. Calculation. He reached for his phone and opened his messages. Scrolled. Found Lily. The thread loaded. And then, a second alert. Archive communication. Review complete. Attached files populated the screen. Fragments of conversations. Time-stamped. Reconstructed. Messages she had sent. Casual, confident, careless. I shouldn't be doing this, but I don't regret it. You have no idea how much influence you have. Last night was worth every risk. His grip tightened around the phone. Those messages weren't from his secure line. They weren't supposed to be stored, but they were, pulled from a monitored platform neither of them had taken seriously. And now, they were evidence. At 8:56, his office phone rang. He stared at it, let it ring twice before answering. Yes. Ryan, a voice said, calm and distant. We need you in conference room B. Immediately. He didn't ask questions, didn't argue. He stood up, straightened his jacket, and walked out. The hallway felt longer this time, colder, every step measured, every glance from others sharper than before. By 8:59, he reached the door. Conference room B. Opaque glass. No visibility inside. He paused for half a second, then opened it. Inside, 3 people. Legal, compliance, and someone from executive oversight he hadn't expected to see. Folders already open. Screens already on. Waiting. Close the door, Ryan, one of them said. He did, and for the first time that morning, he understood. This wasn't a meeting. It was the beginning of an ending. By 9:07 a.m., the acquisition was dead. Not publicly, not officially, but internally, it was already collapsing. Ryan sat in conference room B, hands flat on the table, posture still controlled. He was trying to hold on to that version of himself, the one that walked in confident. It was slipping. Across from him, a compliance officer slid a document forward. No statements yet, she said. Just listen. He didn't touch it. Didn't need to. A screen behind her lit up. Timeline. Clean. Precise. Brutal. Travel records aligned with decision approvals. Private expenses mapped against internal recommendations. Communication spikes before key financial shifts. Every pattern he thought was invisible, now laid out in sequence. This suggests influence, the legal advisor said calmly. Undeclared. Repeated. Ryan exhaled slowly. That's an interpretation, he replied. No, she said. It's a correlation supported by data. Another file appeared. Financial movement logs. Smaller numbers. Hidden inside larger flows. Structured just well enough to avoid attention, until someone looked directly at them, which someone had. These transactions, she continued, were flagged this morning. Ryan leaned forward slightly. That part he hadn't expected. These are standard allocations, he said. They were, she replied, until we overlaid them with your personal timeline. Silence. Not empty. Heavy. Calculated. At 9:12, his access badge stopped working. He didn't notice it immediately, not until he instinctively reached for his phone and saw the notification. Credential status. Suspended. Temporary. But total. No system access. No internal communication. No movement without permission. Ryan looked up. This is excessive. No, the compliance officer said quietly. This is containment. Another screen changed. Investor alerts. Internal only, for now. Language drafted but not released. Transaction review initiated. Material irregularities under assessment. Advisory pause recommended. Ryan's jaw tightened. If that language went public, panic, immediate. Billions don't wait for explanations. They react. And once they react, they don't come back clean. You're freezing the deal, he said. No one answered directly. They didn't need to. At 9:16, his phone buzzed again. Unknown number. He ignored it. Then it buzzed again. And again. He flipped it over. Didn't want to see it. Because part of him already knew who it was. Lily, trying to reach him. Still operating in last night. Still thinking this was something personal. Something contained. She had no idea. None of them did. That this wasn't about exposure anymore. It was escalation. The legal advisor closed a folder in front of her. This doesn't stop here, she said. Ryan looked at her. For the first time, there was something behind his eyes that hadn't been there before. Not confidence. Not control. Recognition. How far does this go? He asked. She held his gaze. That depends, she said, on how much we find. And that was the moment the structure broke. Not loudly, not visibly, but internally, because Ryan understood something very specific. This wasn't just about what they already had. It was about what they were about to start looking for. And once that starts, it doesn't stop where you want it to. It stops where the damage ends. Lily called him 9 times before 10 a.m. No answer. At first, she wasn't worried. I know her patterns. I've watched them long enough. She started with confidence. Short messages, controlled tone. Hey, call me when you're free. Then, busy morning? Then, everything okay? By the 4th message, the confidence cracked. Because Ryan Cole was not the kind of man who ignored people like her. Not after a night like that. I was sitting in a quiet cafe 3 blocks from our house when it shifted. 10:18 a.m. Her call didn't go through. Not declined. Not ignored. Failed. That was the first real signal. I didn't need to see her to know what happened next. She would try again, then switch apps, then email, then check her work account. That's where it got interesting. Because at 10:21, her access was gone. Not partially. Not delayed. Gone. Login error. Session expired. Credentials invalid. The kind of message that doesn't explain itself. The kind that forces you to stare at the screen a second longer than normal. I took a slow sip of coffee. Waited. At 10:26, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it ring once before answering. Ethan? Her voice. Tighter now. Controlled, but only just. Yes. My work account isn't working. I see. A pause. Not long, but long enough for her to register the answer. What does that mean? She asked. It means you should contact IT. I did. No response. I didn't reply immediately. Silence does something to people when they're already unstable. It stretches, distorts, makes them fill it with their own thoughts. Ethan, she said again, sharper now. What's going on? I looked out the window. People passing. Normal lives. Unaware. Nothing you need to worry about right now, I said. That was the wrong answer. Or the right one. Depends on perspective. Don't do that, she said quickly. Don't talk to me like that. Like what? Like you know something I don't. Another pause. Then I ended the call. Not abruptly. Just clean. Final. By 11:03 a.m., the package was delivered. Standard box. No return address. Left at the front door. She opened it within 2 minutes. Of course she did. Inside, a folder. Thick. Structured. Organized. Not random. Never random. The first page. Travel records. Miami. Dates. Times. Matching receipts. The second. Message excerpts. Not all of them. Just enough. The third. That one mattered. Internal platform logs. The ones she never thought about. The ones she used casually. The ones that didn't feel like real communication. Every word time-stamped. Every interaction preserved. And highlighted. A single line she sent 3 nights ago. Send me the draft. I'll make sure it gets approved faster. That was the moment everything changed. because that wasn't personal anymore. That was professional. And worse, that was traceable. At 11:07, she called again. I didn't answer. At 11:09, another call. At 11:12, a message. What did you do? I looked at the screen. Read it once, then locked the phone. Because the truth was simple. I didn't isolate her. I just removed everything that was protecting her from the consequences. And once that protection is gone, people don't fall all at once. They realize, piece by piece, that there's nowhere left to stand. By the afternoon, the narrative started changing. Not in public, not yet, but inside the rooms that mattered, the ones with glass walls, control voices, and people who didn't react, only adjusted. My name came up at 1:14 p.m. Not loudly, not dramatically, just inserted into a conversation that had already turned serious. Who initiated the audit? A pause. Then, Ethan Harper. I wasn't in the room. I didn't need to be. Everything that mattered had already been built. I was back in my office when the internal call came through. Secure line. Expected. I answered immediately. Yes. We've reviewed your submissions, the voice said. Measured. Senior. Why wasn't this escalated earlier? It wasn't complete earlier. A pause. You've been tracking this longer than the current review window. Yes. How long? I glanced at the screen. Earliest flagged irregularity. 7 months ago. Long enough to see the pattern, I said. Another pause. Different this time. Heavier, because now they were recalculating everything they thought they understood. This wasn't triggered by the relationship, the voice continued. No, I said, the relationship confirmed it. Silence. That's the moment it shifts. When people realize a problem is bigger than the scandal, bigger than the exposure, structural, intentional, built over time. You build a full case, he said. Yes. Without visibility. Yes. That part always unsettles them. Not because it's unusual, because it's precise. I don't move early. I move when it's irreversible. Upstairs, I heard movement. Lily, slower now, heavier. The confidence from last night, gone. Replaced with something quieter. Recognition, maybe, or the beginning of it. She's connected to this, the voice said. Not a question, a statement. Yes. Knowingly, I didn't answer immediately, because that part didn't matter. Not to them. Intent doesn't erase impact. She participated. I said, that's not what I asked. No, I replied, but it's what matters. Another pause. Longer. Then, we're moving forward. Of course they were. They didn't have a choice anymore. Not with this level of exposure. Not with this level of documentation. You'll be required for full debrief, he added. I'll be available. The line went quiet, then ended. I closed the system slowly. Not rushed, not tense, just complete. Because this was already done. At 2:32 p.m., Lily knocked on the office door. Soft, careful, not like before. Ethan? Her voice was different. Lower, uncertain. I didn't answer right away. Let her stand there for a second. 2, 3. Then I unlocked the door. She stepped in slowly. No makeup now. Hair tied back. Phone in her hand like it might give her answers if she held it tight enough. What is happening? She asked. Straight to it. No performance. No confidence. Just a question. I looked at her. Really looked this time. And for the first time since last night, she didn't look like someone in control. You told me something yesterday. I said. Her grip tightened slightly. That's not what this is about. No, I said calmly. It's exactly what this is about. She shook her head. You're acting like this is connected to something bigger. I didn't correct her. Didn't soften it. Didn't explain. Because she wasn't ready for the full version. Not yet. You should start thinking carefully about what you've been involved in, I said. Her eyes searched my face, looking for emotion, for anger, for anything familiar. She found none. Ethan, what did you do? There was again that assumption that this was something I created, something I triggered, something I controlled. I held her gaze. then answered simply. I paid attention. And that was the moment she realized. She hadn't just misjudged the situation. She had misjudged me. By the next morning, Lily stopped asking questions. Not because she had answers, because she had started finding them on her own. Her phone sat on the kitchen table, screen lighting up every few minutes. Notifications she couldn't open. Emails she couldn't access. Calls that never connected. Silence had replaced everything. That kind of silence isn't empty. It's loud. She moved slower now. Every action measured. Like the floor might give way if she stepped too hard. Coffee sat untouched in front of her, growing cold. I got a message from HR. She said finally. Her voice was flat. I didn't look up from my laptop. What did it say? That I'm being placed on administrative leave pending review. There it was. The official version. Clean, neutral, final. I nodded once. She let out a breath that almost sounded like a laugh, but there was no humor in it. This is insane, she said. They're acting like I did something illegal. I closed the laptop slowly. Did you? Her eyes snapped to mine. I didn't steal anything. That's not what I asked. Silence. Heavy. She looked away first. By noon, the rest started hitting, one piece at a time. Her mentor, Daniel, called. She answered immediately. Daniel. Thank God. I can't help you, he said. No greeting. No warmth. Just distance. What are you talking about? She asked, voice tightening. I've seen the documentation, he continued. You should have disclosed everything. I didn't think. That's the problem, he cut in. Silence again. Different this time. Colder. You knew better, he said quietly. And for what it's worth, I wasn't the only one advising on this. She froze. What does that mean? Another pause. Then, you should ask your husband. The line went dead. She didn't move for a long time after that. Just sat there, phone still in her hand, staring at nothing. Then slowly, very slowly, she turned toward me. You knew him, she said. Not a question, a realization. I didn't answer. Didn't need to. Her breathing changed. Faster now. Shallow. How long? She asked. I leaned back slightly. Long enough. Her head shook once, like she was trying to reject the idea before it fully formed. No, this doesn't make sense. It does, I said calmly. You're just seeing it late. She stood up abruptly, chair scraping against the floor. You set me up. There it was. The last defense. Blame. I watched her carefully. No, I said. You walked it on your own. That's not true. You told me everything. I continued. Remember? Her expression cracked. Not fully, but enough, because now she could see it. The timing, the connections, the way everything aligned the moment she spoke. You used it, she said quietly. I didn't deny it, didn't confirm it either. I just held her gaze, because the truth was simpler than anything she was trying to build. I didn't create this, I said. I finished it. By evening, it was over. Her accounts gone. Her reputation damaged beyond repair. Her calls unanswered. Ryan completely silent. Not even a message. Not even an attempt. Because he was dealing with his own collapse. And people like him don't look back when they fall. They cut weight. She was weight. At 9:14 p.m., she sat across from me again. Same kitchen. Same chair. Different person. I lost everything, she said. Not dramatic. Not emotional. Just a statement. I nodded once. Yes. She swallowed. Hard. For one night. I tilted my head slightly. No, I said, for a series of decisions you thought didn't matter. That landed. She looked down at her hands, then back at me, and for the first time, there was no arrogance, no confidence, just clarity, and it came too late. A week later, I stood on a stage in Aspen. Private event, invitation only, glass walls, snow outside, quiet wealth inside. The kind of room where people don't ask questions unless they already know the answer. Ethics Summit. The irony wasn't lost on me. I adjusted the microphone slightly and looked out at the audience. Executives. legal advisors, board members, people who understood risk, but still believed they were immune to it. I began without notes. Most failures don't start with intent, I said. They start with assumptions. The room was still, controlled, listening. That certain lines don't apply to you. That small decisions don't compound. That what's personal can't become professional. I paused, not for effect, for precision. Those assumptions are always wrong. No one moved. No one interrupted. Because they recognized the truth when they heard it, even if they didn't like it. Back in the apartment, Lily watched from a borrowed laptop. Small place. Temporary. Nothing like the house. No glass. No space. No control. Just a screen. And me. She hadn't tried to call again. Not after the last conversation. Because now she understood something she didn't before. There was nothing left to say. On stage, I continued. I've spent years working in environments where trust is treated like a formality, I said. Something assumed, rarely examined. A few heads nodded. They'd seen it. They'd lived it. Until it breaks. I let that sit, then added quietly, and when it breaks, it doesn't collapse loudly. It collapses precisely. I could feel the shift in the room. Attention tightening, focus narrowing. Because now they weren't just listening. They were thinking about their own decisions, their own risks, their own blind spots. Lily leaned closer to the screen, watching carefully, searching, not for emotion, for confirmation. I was brought into a situation recently, I continued, where the issue wasn't the event itself. I walked slowly across the stage, measured steps. The issue was everything leading up to it. I stopped, looked directly into the audience. A pattern of behavior, small compromises, moments dismissed as irrelevant. Silence. Then, one decision doesn't destroy a system. Another pause. People do. Over time. In the apartment. Lily's hands tightened around the edge of the table. Because now, she wasn't just hearing it. She was recognizing it. Every step, every choice, every moment she had minimized, reframed, justified. I finished simply. No one is ever surprised by the outcome, I said, only by when it arrives. I stepped back from the microphone. Applause followed. Polite, measured, respectful. The kind of applause that acknowledges understanding, not entertainment. Lily didn't clap. She just stared at the screen as it faded to black. Because now she understood the part that mattered most. I didn't expose her. I didn't chase her. I didn't destroy anything in anger. I didn't need to. I just watched, waited, and when the moment came, I let everything she chose become everything she lost.